Welcome to Sacred Ground Community Church and Sangha. I'm Parson Michael, and we are a spiritual community melding together Buddhism, Christianity, and earth-centered spirituality. And we oftentimes begin with the Tibetan bowl, the sound of the bell, and I'll begin that way today. Enjoy the sound of the bell. I'm going to invite you right now, if you'd like, to enter a space of mindfulness, of presence. And we're grounded by the teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh, and so a lot of this comes from what we've learned from him over the years, as well as other teachers. So I invite you, if you'd like, to have your feet on the floor and just a little bit more aware of your body. As I bring that attention, I find myself thinking about, I can feel a little tension in my lower back. I can feel a little bit tightness in my shoulders. And I invite you to notice when you're breathing in and breathing out. In and out. Deep and slow. Calm and relax. Notice that if there's any place of tension that you particularly notice, and I invite you on your in-breath to bring your awareness, and then on the out-breath just to start to let go. Awareness, let go. I can feel gravity allowing my body to relax a little. Awareness. Let go. This week we're beginning the Lenten season. This is our first Sunday of Lent. And we're also in the midst of looking at the Buddhist paramitas, which are that which gets us to the shore of well-being. And we're on the fourth paramita, Vira paramita, which is diligence, which we'll be talking about right diligence and fourfold diligence today. And so that'll be the themes of the day, and we're going to begin with a namaste bow. Namaste is a way of saying, there was a namaste growl, not a namaste bow by our dog there. You may have picked that up. But namaste bow is recognizing the goodness in you. We are each children of God. We're each bodhisattvas in training. And that means each of us. So is every other. So taking a minute, recognizing that in oneself, and then recognizing that in the other. So we have a little gathering here live, so we'll do those bows to each other, but we'll also, a couple of us will offer bows to you folks as well. I'm also going to offer bows to our dogs who are present here. So it may feel a little odd. Most of us aren't from the, Eastern tradition, but if you'd like, feel free, even if you're watching online, feel free to bow in and to sort of recognize that goodness in yourself and the goodness in the other as we do this here. I'll invite the bell to sound. We'll do the bow, and after the bow, Ali will come up and offer our first reading. Thanks for tuning in, and as I ring the bell and as we do the bow, the invitation is presence, because there's only one place. There's only one place where we can live. Right here. Right here in this moment. It's the only place.
Morning. I'd like to mention actually a few things before I do this first reading. Another welcome to everyone here that's here in our home, the Malley Folk House, that's on Facebook with us, and those people joining us on Zoom. We so appreciate being together with you all today. And a couple things. If you would like to participate on Zoom or Facebook, we would love that. We had quite a bit of participation last week. So on Zoom, you might have to put in a question for the question and answers, and we're going to try to get to those. And on Facebook, you're going to write in the chat. And apologies, last week there was a problem that I couldn't, Facebook was not showing all the posts that people were putting on. It was just showing me one or two lines of them. So I'm hopefully got that fixed this week so I can read the entire post. So working on technical issues too, but we would love for your participation. And during our joys and concerns, we'll ask for that. Okay, our first reading today is from Thich Nhat Hanh's The Heart of the Buddhist Teaching. And it's about the fourth paramita. The fourth petal of the flower is Vira Paramita, the perfection of diligence. The Buddha said that in the depth of our store consciousness, there are all kinds of positives and negative seeds. Seeds of anger, delusion, and fear, and seeds of understanding, compassion, and forgiveness. Many of these seeds have been transmitted to us by our ancestors. We should learn to recognize every one of these seeds in us in order to practice diligence. If it is a negative seed, the seed of an affliction like anger, jealousy, fear, or discrimination, we should refrain from allowing it to be watered in our daily life. Every time such a seed is watered, it will manifest on the upper level of our consciousness, and we will suffer and make the people we love suffer at the same time. The practice is to refrain from watering the negative seeds in us. We also recognize the negative seeds in the people we love and try our best not to water them. If we do, they will be very unhappy, and we will be unhappy also. This is the practice of selective watering. If you want to be happy, avoid watering your own negative seeds and ask others not to water those seeds in you. Also, avoid watering the negative seeds in others. We also try to recognize the positive seeds that are in us and to live our daily life in a way that we can touch them and help them manifest on the upper level of our consciousness. Every time the beneficial seeds manifest and stay on the upper level of our consciousness for a while, they grow stronger. If the positive seeds in us grow stronger day and night, we will be happy and we will make the people we love happy. Recognize the positive seeds in the person you love, water those seeds, and he will become much happier. In Plum Village, we practice flower watering, recognizing the best seeds in others and watering them. Whenever you have time, please water the seeds that need to be watered. It's a wonderful and very pleasant practice of diligence, of vira paramita, and it brings immediate results. Imagine a circle divided in two. Below is the store consciousness, and above is mind consciousness. All mental formations lie deep down in the store consciousness. Every seed in our store consciousness can be touched and manifests itself on the upper level, namely our mind consciousness. Continued diligent practice means trying our best not to give the negative seeds in our store consciousness to be touched in our daily life, not to give the chance to manifest themselves. The seeds of anger, discrimination, despair, jealousy, and craving are all there. We do what we can to prevent them from coming up. We tell the people we live with, if you truly love me, don't water these seeds in me. It is not good for my health or for yours. That's the end of the first reading.
I'm going to move a candle over to here, since our one candle burned out. The second reading comes from the Gospel of Mark, and the third reading will be from the Gospel of Thomas. And before I do those readings, we all know, or most of us know, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John as the four canonical Gospels. What you may or may not know is that in the 1940s in Egypt, a discovery was made, and a number of ancient Christian texts were found. And these are sometimes referred to as the Gnostic Gospels, though they're not all associated with this idea of Gnosticism. But sometimes they're called the Nag Hammadi texts or the Nag Hammadi library. And I've mentioned before that if you read the Gospels separately, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, you get very different messages. And early Christian communities, they didn't have all four Gospels, they just had one. And they were kind of following that teaching, or they were following the teachings of Paul. And there were other teachings besides these. And so the Gospel of Thomas is one of those teachings. So it's wonderful, really, that we now have these available. So I will share from Mark and Thomas. And I think this may be one of the first times that we've had a sharing from the Gospel of Thomas, and I'm a little embarrassed that it's taken us years to get to this. So in the comments section, if you watch regularly, and we don't share from the Nag Hammadi Gospels for the next 5, 6, 7 weeks, give a little message like, hey, what about Gospel of Thomas and some of those others? So we'll make sure that we keep us honest. Make sure we keep drawing from them. So I'll ring the bell, and then I'll first be sharing from Mark chapter 4, verses 1 through 9. Mark chapter 4, verses 1 through 9, the parable of the sower. Again, Jesus began to teach beside the sea. Such a very large crowd gathered around him that he got into a boat on the sea and sat there, while the whole crowd was beside the sea on the land. Jesus began to teach them many things in parables. And in his teaching, he said to them, "Listen, a sower went out to sow. And as he sowed, some seed fell on the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Other seed fell on rocky ground, where it did not have much soil. And it sprang up quickly, since it had no depth of soil. And when the sun rose, it was scorched. And since it had no root, it withered away. Other seed fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it, and it yielded no grain. Other seed fell into good soil and brought forth grain, growing up and increasing and yielding 30 and 60 and 100-fold. And he said, "Let anyone with ears to hear listen." And our third reading comes from the Gospel of Thomas, saying number 20. The disciples said to Jesus, "Tell us what the kingdom of heaven is like." Jesus said to them, "It is like a grain of mustard seed, the smallest of all seeds. But when it falls on tilled ground, it puts forth a great branch and becomes shelter for the birds of heaven."
The fourth reading also comes from Thich Nhat Hanh's The Heart of the Buddhist Teaching. We have recognized the kinds of seeds not to be watered. If it happens that a negative seed, the seed of an affliction, is watered and manifests itself, we do everything in our power to embrace it with our mindfulness and help it return to where it came from. The longer such seeds stay in our mind consciousness, the stronger they become. The practice is also to touch as many positive seeds in your stored consciousness as you can, so that they will manifest in your mind consciousness. On a television set, if you want a certain program, you push the button to bring you that program. Invite only pleasant seeds to come up and sit in the living room of your consciousness. Never invite a guest who brings you sorrow and affliction. And tell your friends, if you love me, please water the wholesome seeds in me every day. One wonderful seed is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the Buddha in us. Use every opportunity to touch that seed and help it to manifest on the upper level of your consciousness. The practice of diligence is also to keep a wholesome seed as long as possible once it has manifested. If mindfulness is maintained for 15 minutes, the seed of mindfulness will be strengthened, and the next time you need the energy of mindfulness, it will be easier to bring up. It is very important to help the seeds of mindfulness, forgiveness, and compassion to grow, and the way to do this is to help them be present in your mind consciousness as long as possible. This is called transformation at the base. This is the true meaning of virya paramita, the perfection of diligence.
Next, we'll have the song Breathing In, Breathing Out. And it's a good point, good time to just invite folks. If you have certain talents, skills, interests, if you'd like to do a reading, you could be on the other side of the country or the other side of the world, and we'd still love you to do a reading during one of the services. If you have musical skills or talents, and you'd like to share them with us, we can do that via Zoom. We could also, if you live in Central Ohio, you could come here and share some of your skills. But today, we'll have me leading in the song. But this is Breathing In, Breathing Out, a song that we learned from Thich Nhat Hanh and the Thich Nhat Hanh retreats. And there'll be little hand motions that'll go with them that you'll kind of pick up on as we go along, hopefully. I invite you to take a breath. And I'll put my glasses on to make sure I don't miss the words here. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. I am blooming as a flower. I am fresh as the dew. I am solid as a mountain. I am firm as the earth. I am free. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. I am water reflecting what is real, what is true. And I feel there is space deep inside of me. I am free, I am free, I am free.
Now I'm going to lead us in an embodied prayer practice. And this week it's going to be focusing on Lent. I'm going to call it an invitation. Lent is an invitation, but I'm going to talk about Lent just a little bit for folks that might not be familiar with it. I was raised Protestant. I wasn't that familiar with Lent until I met Michael back in the 90s. But I actually love Lent. I know some people, it's kind of has a little baggage attached to Lent, and it might make them a little anxious or don't feel the joy of it. And maybe that's because I didn't grow up with Lent. And some people kind of see Lent as rigid self-denial and like an atonement for sins. But I'm going to talk to you guys about how I see Lent. And I see it as a really joyous time of year. So Lent began last week on Ash Wednesday. And actually even the 2 days before that, we call it Shrove Monday and Fat Tuesday, which are like celebration days before Lent. And then on Wednesdays, Ash Wednesday, where they put ashes on your forehead. And actually Michael did that with some of our ashes, where you burn the palms from the year before and make ashes. And on Ash Wednesday is a time to think about your mortality, and from ashes you come and from ashes you will go. There are 40 days of Lent, and those 40 days have to do with Jesus's 40 days in the wilderness, because it's a Christian tradition. And there are, let's see, this is the first Sunday. There are 6 Sundays in Lent, including Palm Sunday, and then finally Easter. So here I'm going to share 2 ways that I like to think about Lent and why it is such a joyous thing for me. And the first way is just thinking about Jesus's 40 days in the wilderness, and where he fasted and prayed. And I just try to imagine like Lent being, it can be for us, like what would happen if we did 40 days of fasting, prayer, and like the removal of distractions. And what could that bring to your spirit? And so that's kind of how I see Lent, as these 40 days of kind of trying to quiet ourselves down. And we can do that, and we do that by giving up something. People always say, what did you give up for Lent? Give up something. So we give up something. But in that, it kind of helps us, or helps me, to have a little bit of a clarity, grounding, kind of awakening of my spirit, and just being more mindful and present, because I'm that habit energy of whatever we're giving up. I have to be connected to that, and so that it just brings presence and awareness, and it slows me down too. Slows me down to help me see the sacredness, the wholeness that is all around me. So that's kind of the first way I think about Lent, is that. And the second way is contemplating mortality. So I said Ash Wednesday helps us to contemplate mortality, but if we can see Lent, the question of Lent, what did you give up for Lent? Seeing that as a reminder that everything we have we're going to give up at some point. Because everything, our friends, our community, our bodies, ourselves, are all going to be given up. They're all literally on loan to us. And so seeing Lent as a time to contemplate mortality. So those are the 2 ways I see Lent. And so if you want to do Lent, that might be a way you can look at Lent and not have it be something that just like condemning, or I think sometimes people feel that, but feel the joy of it, and the joy of thinking about mortality, the joy of getting rid of distractions. So with that, we're going to do a guided meditation here, and then a prayer about this guided meditation, getting rid of distractions. So I just want you to get in a comfortable spot if you can, and just notice your breath again. You might want to shut your eyes as you're breathing in and out. And what I would like you to do today is just imagine that you are in the desert. So around you, you can see sand, maybe a few sparse plants. The sun is shining. And maybe you notice a gentle breeze on you. And just in and out. Sit yourself down there, maybe on a rock, maybe on the sand. And feel the sparseness around you. Feel the removal of distractions. As you're in and out, just sitting in that spot. again, seeing Lent as invitation. I invite you this month, this Lenten season, these 40 plus days, that if you maybe during your meditation want to just come back to this spot, this desert, while you're meditating and just sitting and just enjoying being the aloneness, the quietness, and the peacefulness of this desert. Great Sacred, may we keep whatever Lent we can, whether self-chosen or imposed. May we use this time as a reminder of our mortality and our imperfections. May we see it as a chance for renewal and the building of character and spirit. May this time help us to awaken our souls to see the wholeness of life, the connections to everything, and the sacred available all the time. Peace and amen and amen and amen. And I'll let Michael take over.
Thank you, Ollie. We got a drink of water for a minute. In our readings today, from Thich Nhat Hanh, we focused on Vira Paramita. And Vira, one translation, is diligence. And he speaks of these seed watering. And Thich Nhat Hanh, I don't think the phrase was used in the readings that Honesty and Ollie shared, but oftentimes he'll speak of the fourfold right diligence. And I'll just go through this fourfold. So in our store consciousness, any of us, we have positive seeds. We have joy. We have kindness. We have generosity. And we have negative seeds. We have anger. We have fear. We have worries. We have jealousy. And sometimes they manifest. Different ones, positive ones or negative ones. And so this fourfold right diligence, the idea is, what are we watering? So one is, when the negative seeds have not yet arisen, don't water them. That's one, right? And when the negative seeds have already rose up, when you're feeling anger, when you're feeling fearful, do what you can to stop watering it. And similarly, when the positive seeds have not manifested, how do you water them? How do you get them to come up? How do you get joy to manifest? How do you get kindness to manifest within yourself? Because it's not necessarily the same for each of us. And once it does manifest, and I think about this one a lot, how do we keep it up there? Because sometimes there's a song by the band The Violent Femmes, and it's like, good feeling, won't you stay with me just a little longer? So, you get that good feeling up, but then how do you keep it up? And I was thinking about this with seed watering. We're all those plants. And so Dakota there, what she needs, she might need a little different nutrients than I need. And Ollie might need more water at this time or more sunshine. Another plant needs more shade. So we have different needs too. Now there's another level to this, and this came through in some of the readings. Let me see if I can just share a little bit of this here. We also recognize the seeds in the people we love and try our best to water them. So you've got this fourfold thing going within you. I'm actually going to talk about a 16-fold. So then you have the other. So how do I water a beneficial seed in honesty, or in my son, or in my partner? And then how do I help it to stay manifesting? And sometimes I think, I've got to say all these things. Sometimes that person wants space. That's what's going to water a good seed, right? And how do I keep from watering the negative seeds? Or how do I, once I see the negative is up in them, how do I keep it from manifesting more? So those are all questions, right? So there's 8. But I said there's 16. So the other is, how do I get you to teach me what seeds you need? Hey, Michael, I know you're trying to be helpful, but that's not helpful. You, as the other, as my friend, as my family member, as my acquaintance, you help me to understand what seeds to water in you. And here's the final 4, I do the same for you. I have to communicate to you to let you know, I know you're trying to be helpful, but that's not really helpful. Or, we have that line, he really pushes my buttons. She really pushes she's watering negative seeds in you. So we have these 16-fold right diligence. Now I was thinking about all this, and then it popped into my head last night. John O'Donohue, he was a Roman Catholic priest, and he was a poet, and he wrote on Celtic spirituality. And I want to share something that he wrote. He says, I'll do the bell here before I read O'Donohue. So I guess this is our first, second, third, fourth. This is our 5th reading. So this is from John O'Donohue's book, Eternal Echoes, page 108, 109. The New Testament tells how people often begged Jesus to cure them. Sometimes these were people who had lived inside the prison of illness for years. In his gentle yet incisive way, Jesus often turned the question inwards and asked, do you want to be healed? This is a great question to ask yourself. When you notice that the changes you long for are not happening. Maybe you do not want to be free. Something in the inner confinement confirms something in you which you are not yet ready to let go. Ollie was talking about Lent. And I read something the other day. It's like, well, didn't you do Lent practices last year? So why do you need to do them again this year? We're still evolving. And most of us are not where we want to be. We could say, that makes sense. Water the beneficial seeds. Don't water the negative seeds. All of that, right? But why is it so hard for us to do that? Are we really ready to make the change? Are we ready to be healed, as Jesus said? And you'll even find this when we talk about that 16-fold. You'll even find this when you may not be ready for someone to tell you, hey, when you do that, that really doesn't help me. That might kind of irritate you. I think a good place to start is with ourselves. And then when we're ready to start to ask the other person, and this could be your partner, this could be your friend, this could be anyone. Hey, I want to do a little better here. Can you give me some clues as to like what's going to be helpful and what's really not? And then just listen. And maybe you could say to them, I have some thoughts too on what would be helpful for me. And why don't you let me know, like maybe not right now, but let me know when you'd like to hear those. And I'll try to share what will help to water beneficial seeds in me. It's lifelong work. I'm 60 years old this year. I'm far from who I hope to be. I'll probably do Lenten practice again in 2024, 25, 26 if I'm around. And we continually try to work on this. How do we water the beneficial seeds? And where are the thorns? Where is the soil too thin, as Jesus talks about? And how do we enrich the soil and deepen it so the worthy seeds can grow? I'll invite the bell to sound. Now, when I was sharing, you might have heard a few blocks tumbling in the background. That's because we have Dakota. How old is Dakota?
3.
3? Because we have a 3-year-old here. And I've been to some Buddhist groups that say, we don't want the children here. I don't think we can get to a point of the level of community that we want and the collective seed watering that we want when we have that kind of exclusivity. We want Dakota here. We want community. We spoke of inclusiveness last week. Wherever you are in your understanding of things, you're welcome here. No exceptions. Race, class, age, gender, sexual identity, sexual preference, political party. We are all children of God. We are all bodhisattvas in training, and we all need the good seeds to be watered in us. Because that's the other little underlying message of that piece by Thich Nhat Hanh, that we kind of don't always remember that, guess what? Those worthy seeds, they're in everyone. And those seeds of harm and pain, they're in each person. But how do we enrich the soil? How do we provide the right nutrients, the right water? We will now share our joys and concerns. I'll invite the bell to sound, and we might want to move this out a little bit to hear if anybody wants to share.
Or people can walk up.
Or people can walk up closer. Yeah, okay. I'll invite the bell to sound, and if you're online live and you would like to share, you can write it in the comment section. If you're on the Zoom, you can pop in on Zoom and share with us. And as I always say, if you're watching the recording, We still want your joys. We still want your concerns, because it all reverberates out. Here's the bell, and then we'll have our little prayer time. Enjoy this moment, this bell. And we'll take a few minutes for joys and concerns.
I'll come share mine over there. And then I'll check Facebook and Zoom. I did deep prayers for our nephew's child's mom, who's a 25-year-old woman and is really sick in intensive care and got put on in a coma, in an induced coma because of pneumonia and some other issues. So her name's Kiana. I do deep prayers for her. Their child is just a little 1-year-old. So we've been thinking about her a lot. We have a number of other family members that are just in pain or a lot of heartache, and so we continue our prayers for them. Just joy again that we're here with folks here at our home, welcoming them in, as well as being able to welcome people on Zoom and on Facebook Live. And it just, my heart is overflowing that we are here and this is starting, and this is the vibrancy that is from this. And again, I'll mention again, just such joy that we have a little one among us today. Our little ones are all grown, but they used to join us. Our youngest is now 16. And still we have some of them joining us today too. But yeah, just such a joy. So if you're here in Central Ohio and you have a family, you may bring your family, and there'll be activities for children in the second half of our program. So those are my joys and concerns. And I will look if you have any on Facebook that you want to put in the chat, or in Zoom that you want to put in the question and answers. I will go look for those now.
I have a joy. When I came here, this is the first time we've gathered together in a long time, and Michael and Ali were asking me how I learned about them, and I was explaining to them how at the time that I first came, I was thinking to myself about how can a Buddhist and Christian be the same thing, or can you be both? Because I came from a Christian background, but I was really interested in Buddhism and the philosophy of it. And I had lunch with a coworker who told me about them. And so I just wanted to share joy. It just made me, now that I'm older and thinking about how the universe works, it just makes me think that it was like divinely presented to me. And so I'm just thankful about that.
Here.
Okay.
From Carol. I wonder if I should go closer or go
You wanna?
Here, you know what I can do? I can go like this.
Okay. You're gonna come here?
I will. I'll just come here. I could do that, can't I? I can unplug. Grateful for a teaching this week reminding me that responding out of love or peace or joy is beneficial for myself and others versus egoic reactions. Take a breath and center yourself. And then respond to the situation I knew this and somehow need constant reminding. Love meeting honesty again. Thanks for hosting. So there's one there. And let me just look before I go off to see if we have any. Yeah. On Facebook. Shannon, can you pray for people who have mental health issues that they get help that they need to help them? And another one, prayers for Ken Berry, my friend's father. Hi, Ken. I'm just gonna look one more time, make sure I got all of these. I think that's it for now. Thank you. Those people have shared. Thank you, thank you.
As Ollie mentioned, we have a number of family members who are going through struggles, some personal struggles, some marital relationship struggles or ending of relationships. Prayers go out to all of them. I heard from a friend this week who was talking about his pet being getting old and quite ill. Another friend who their cat passed away not too long ago, and I don't know if you could see. Here, I'll show him. Oh, Cookie! This is Cookie, member of our family. Wave to everybody, Cookie. But we oftentimes don't know how to talk about that or discuss that, and these are members of our families. You know, we have 2 dogs and 2 cats who are certainly members of our families, and they bring us a lot of joy, and when they get sick and when their time comes, it brings us great pain. So we just prayers to everybody who may have those hard times with their pets. And as always, we want to think of the wider world. We know of the recent natural disasters with the earthquake. We know of the challenges of climate change and all that brings. Places with war. Houses where there's violence that probably within a few blocks of where you live. Help us all to remember great sacred those beneficial seeds. Help us to water them in each other. Help us to grow in our wisdom and understanding to refrain from watering that which causes harm in ourselves, in each other, and in our world. And help us to persevere with gentleness and humor, knowing that we're not going to get it perfect. We have those little blockages that sometimes we don't want to heal. Sometimes the soil is a little thin and our attempts wilt in the sun. But help us to keep trying, keep growing, and keep adding to the good in ourselves and in our world. Thank you. Peace and amen.
Okay. Finally, we have our announcements, and we actually have quite a few announcements this week for March. So our next service is going to be March 12th. It's going to be in person, online, same here at the Malley Folk House. So if you are in the Central Ohio area and would like to come and you're not on our email list, you can contact us through our website, theholynow.org, to the contact link. We can get you on our website. You can get the address to where we're at if you want to come and join us. That is the way to do it. And so our next in-person will be March 12th, and then March 20, it'll be 2 weeks after that. I don't think we wrote down the date here, but 2 weeks after that, March 26th. March 26th. And we also, in March, have a number of other things happening. We are going to be starting starting back up our mindfulness men's group, or Michael will be doing that. And that is going to be in person here in Columbus, but also you could join us via Zoom if you'd like to participate in Zoom. That certainly won't be on Facebook. It's a more private thing, but it'll be on Zoom. And Michael, maybe he'll talk about that when he comes up here. We're also going to start our yoga / mindful movements. So the first and third Wednesdays of the month are going to be men's group, and the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month in the evening are going to be our yoga mindful movements, again here at the Folk House. So get on our email list, go to our website if you'd like more information about those. And then next week or next month will be our first Church of the Wild. That's going to be on March 19th. So March 12th in-person service, March 19th will be Church of the Wild. Church of the Wild is where we're going to meet out at a park here in Central Ohio. And it's going to be at 10 a.m. again. Those will just be right now for people in Central Ohio. We might find a way that we can get those out to Facebook or Zoom also. We're going to start them just here. So if you are interested in that, we're going to come. We're going to gather in a park. We are going to have some time of coming together with maybe readings and prayers, and then some time just to have solitude in nature, and then coming back together to talk about it. So those will start happening. First one is March 19th. And if you want more information about us, go to theholynow.org. There you can contact us. You can find out about podcasts and other things, and you can donate if you'd like to support us. And then the last thing I'm going to mention is this is the first week we're actually we have Gentle Embers Media here with us, and Gentle Embers Media they're filming the whole service also on a different camera, and we're going to be putting stuff up on YouTube, but also on Instagram, on other things like that, and I'm getting a nod. So those kind of social media sites, we're going to have short videos going up there, but our YouTube site is going to become more active again. We haven't posted there in a while. So go to our YouTube site in the next week or two to start seeing more of things up there, and maybe you'll see us on other social media sites too. Okay, so I think that's it. I'll send Michael up to talk about the men's group again and do our closing prayer.
Thanks, Holly. A couple more words about our programming coming up. This Wednesday, so today's Sunday, March 1st, we'll have our first men's group, kind of post-COVID, if you will. That will be meeting here at our home, but as Ollie said, that will also be available on Zoom, but you'll have to sign up ahead of time. That will not be on Facebook Live, it will not be recorded, but for those who are not able to attend, if they don't live in the area or if they just can't make it, we wanted to have that option. And that men's group will be meeting at 7 p.m. Our doors will open at 6:30. That is open to all men or those who identify as men. So we want to be inclusive here and recognize the range of folks out there. So if you identify as a man, you're welcome to join us. And the following week on March the 8th, that will be the first yoga group. That will be at 6 p.m. And that's because it's recommended, Ollie and I have both been doing yoga training. She'll be leading the yoga. It's recommended that you do yoga not on a full stomach. So we thought if it's a 6 to 7 session, people could eat a late dinner afterwards. Again, that'll be here. Contact us for info, and then after that we'll have our Sunday service again. So great to be with you all, and I will do a closing prayer after the bell. As Honesty read to us, one of the beneficial seeds we can water is mindfulness. So we're invited into presence with the bell. O great sacred, we give thanks. We give thanks for the teachings. We give thanks for the opportunity to be together. We give thanks for the opportunities to use the technology to try to water beneficial seeds. Help us as we move forward. Remind us to add to the good. And invite us, nudge us to give ourselves space to figure out, how do I water the beneficial seeds in myself? How do I keep from watering the negative ones? How do I enrich the soil and remove the thorns? Help us to add to the good. Peace and amen and amen. Look forward to seeing y'all next time.